FAGASA, who are the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, recently presented Safari Guide of the Year 2022. My name is David Batsoffen, and in consultation with FAGASA, I present In Conversation With. And today I'm chatting to the winner of Safari Guide of the Year and the man who still does not like pineapple on his pizza, Cameron Pearce. Cameron, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, David. Very good, thanks. And you? How are you?
Very well, thank you. I don't know if you know it, but the men's trophy for Wimbledon has a pineapple on the top of it.
You see, I mean,
I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there.
Maybe we should add that onto the Safari Guide of the Year trophy for next year, I think.
Firstly, huge congratulations, Cam. A really, really well-deserved win in a group of people who were spectacular this year. Probably the best Safari Guide of the Year that I've attended, certainly in the, 11 years that it's been going now.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. It really was a week amongst some very, very special people. And I can genuinely say that from day one, the thought of winning or any sort of competition did not cross my mind. The camaraderie amongst the finalists and everyone that was involved, from the media to the sponsors, it was just very, very special, and lots of very positive energy. And I think we shared some great networking and new relationships that were built that we can all make use of going into the future. So just a very positive week, all in all.
Well, I suppose at this particular point, it behooves me to ask you to hold up the trophy, and do this sort of Novak Djokovic, let's kiss this Wimbledon trophy type thing. I'm sure there's a picture of you doing that somewhere. So where is it, Cam?
It's just over here with me, David. It's a glass trophy, so it might be a little difficult to see.
Okay, now there we go. We can see
there she is. Yeah, I almost left her back home in Hoedspruit. I was a little bit worried because it is quite a big trophy, and I had to obviously get on the plane back to Namibia. So I almost left it at close to the home of the Safari Guide of the Year at Bushwise.
Right.
But at the last second, I decided to bring her with and bubble wrapped her, and she traveled in my backpack on my lap for the trip up to Namibia.
How has it been since the event for you? I take it not only your peers, but people who have watched the event either live on 183 or even the people that you work for in Namibia. What was the feedback like when you got home?
Yeah, I mean, it was overwhelming. Hundreds and hundreds of messages of congratulations. So it was very humbling, and it was lovely to hear from people that haven't touched base with for a few years. Some people that I'd guided with 10, almost 15 years ago, congratulating me. So that was very heartwarming to experience. And yeah, it's just been there's lots of positive avenues that have opened up, and obviously we're chatting about FAGASA expanding further into Namibia and trying to extend their presence up here. Michelle Duplessis, who's the managing director of FAGASA, and Mark Bishop, who was also heavily involved with the competition with Kruger to Canyons. They'll be up here next week on the 13th and the 14th visiting us. So yeah, we're looking forward to making big inroads into really professionalizing the safari industry in Namibia and making guiding a much bigger part of it.
Wonderful. Now let's go back to the event, because although you were the overall winner of Safari Guide of the Year 2022, you also took home some category wins. Talk us through those. What were they like for you, and were they expected?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ones that I won, most of them that I won, I've spent a lot of time working on them. So I was very lucky to win the guided walk, which is something that I spend a lot of time with. So I'm not a specialist trails guide, but I spend a lot of time on foot training guides here at Ongava. That's a big focus for us this last year, has been walking safaris, and in terms of safely approaching big game like rhinos and elephants, and just developing a comfortable walking style and a comfort with dangerous game. So I'm glad I picked that one up. The birding is something that I absolutely love, and I've spent a lot of time focusing on that in the last 2-3 years. So I mean, that I thought was quite a natural one for me to take home. The track and sign has also been something that I've spent a lot of time with over the last 4 or 5 years. So I've really focused on achieving the top levels of the tracking qualifications. So yeah, I was happy with that one. The big surprise was the the storytelling. That was the one I think during our last conversation, I said to you, I was very nervous about that one.
You were indeed.
But, I just tried to make it personal and heartfelt. And I think everyone enjoyed the story of my tracker July, and I tried to bring everyone into into that relationship with the two of us.
And it's also, you used the word humble a moment or two ago, Cameron. And I think that's what was the takeaway for me this year, specifically with the 5 finalists, was how humble you all are. Really and truly, there was no, tight shorts and tight tops and huge knives and wildebeest teeth hanging around your necks, that type of thing. The old safari guide or game rangers, they used to be called back in the 60s and 70s. You're young men who have turned this into a proper profession, and that the profession, and by extension for Gaza and all those involved, should be extremely proud of you people taking this forward as ambassadors for field guides.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. I think there's no room for arrogance and egos in what we do today. The natural world is a great leveler. It's nature levels all of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many years of experience. How many years of experience or how many qualifications you've got. In fact, some of the people who are the most intuitive people out there in the bush are people that don't even have a matric qualification. Yeah. So I think it's just important to be humble, to learn from other people as much as you can, and to just remember that we're out there sharing our love of nature. We're not there to prove anything.
Were there any, just going back to the track and sign, were there any tracks or signs for that matter that you sort of went, this could be a 3-legged mouse with half a tail, but by the same token, it could be a jackal? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they actually right at the end, right on the last question of the day, there was a white-tailed mongoose that had stepped in the mud.
Yeah.
Up here in Namibia, we don't see any white-tailed mongoose, so I hadn't seen one for a good couple of years.
Right.
And it was definitely not the easiest track. It was obscure in the mud, very old. And I sat there on my hands and knees staring at this thing for a good 5-10 minutes, thinking that it was a white-tailed mongoose.
Right.
And just before I went up to give the answer, as I stood up, I said, no, that's a jackal, and got it wrong. So that was that was the one right at the end that snagged me.
Do you think that often guides sometimes overthink tracks? Like you said, you knew what it was, and then at the last minute you went, maybe not. And if you'd gone with your instinct, it would have been another tick rather than a cross.
Sometimes that is the case, but equally, David, I've also had times when I've been, so sure that it was something that it wasn't for 10 minutes. And just sitting there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
right,
thinking it through, and then you eventually come across to the right answer after having changed it. So I think there's no recipe to it. Sometimes you get it wrong after thinking for a long time, and sometimes you end up talking yourself out of the correct answer. So I think it's just the more time you spend, the more of a gut feel that you develop. But yeah, sometimes you have to, some of the tracks are more complex and you have to spend more time thinking about them.
And specifically if the tracks, and I know they did it to you guys, not all the tracks were fresh. There were some tracks that had been wind eroded so that they didn't quite look like the originals. With Juan and Lucas and James heading that pack, it's not, that it's going to be a tough morning. You're lucky you only had 30 to identify.
Yeah, they were definitely not easy. We were not playing in the small boy leagues. We were definitely going for the more complex stuff. One of the other complicated ones was where we had a slender mongoose that had walked one direction down the road and a dwarf mongoose that had walked on top of that track in the opposite direction. That also took a good 10-15 minutes of careful thinking to figure that one out.
Cameron, going forwards, if you were to give any advice to other guides, young guides, older guides who are thinking, hey, maybe I could do this in 2023, what would you say to them now already about next June or July?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you should not take lightly. You really have to be in a good headspace. And if I think about in previous years, I'd maybe been spending more time in the bush. I was guiding more actively, but I hadn't yet developed that level of maturity and calmness of spirit. That very much requires you to just get out of your head, just be in a good headspace and be in a positive time of your life. And obviously you need to be a jack of all trades with this competition. You need to be good at birding, you need to be good at tracking, at rifle handling, walking, driving, photography. So try to spend as much time on all aspects of guiding. Don't focus too much on one sphere, I would say, is try and spend a little bit of time in each and make yourself a very well-rounded guide. That's the best advice I can give for the next year's contestants.
There was one contestant who sort of freaked me out a bit because he's a left-handed shooter. And I've never seen anybody shoot left-handed, because you've then got to go over the top of the weapon to get to the bolt, which is not easy. And Solomon won that particular activity, but good for him.
Yeah.
But not easy. And I suppose it's like a left-handed guitar. If you restring it well and good, but to re-bolt a rifle, I think, is very expensive.
Yeah, unfortunately, for the lefties, there are left-handed rifles available, but they are very few and far between, and they do cost a pretty penny because they are so few and far between.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the guys just use the right-handed rifles, and it is quite something to watch. It the way that they reach over the rifle to work the bolt. We were calling Solomon the Cobra because it looks like a snake slithering over the rifle. It's actually quite fun to watch. But yeah, he did very well, and he ended up taking home the advanced rifle handling prize. When he said that, he was probably most nervous about the rifle handling event.
I remember right at the beginning. Would there be any categories that you would like to see added to Safari Guide of the Year that may add another level of expertise to future finalists?
No, that's a very good question. Something I hadn't thought about, but I think, yeah, in terms of the hospitality and professionalism section is very important. Perhaps we could expand that, and make them more specialized. But I think, yeah, for now, the general structure of the competition really covers all the different aspects in some detail. So I think, yeah, having 9 events, it's becoming more and more each year. This year we had the surprise one, which was the viewer's choice on Wild Earth. We kind of got we got surprised into a television experience, an appearance, which was, yeah, that was fun.
Oh,
but Steve Falconbridge, we had Steve on from Wild Earth, who was kind of coaching us through it, and
yeah,
he's just a wonderful character, and he made us feel safe and welcomed. And Rebecca and Morgan and Kun, the team from Wild Earth, they really held us in that space and guided us through it. So I think it was a fun experience.
Because when that little red light comes on, various body orifices close. Should I say don't close? They just snap shut, and it's difficult to get them open in the right order again.
Yeah, no, we're quite used to speaking in front of groups, but small groups. Generally on Safari, you don't have more than 8 people with you. So when you know that there are thousands and thousands of people back home watching, yeah, definitely, if you're not used to it, it can be very nerve-wracking.
How do your colleagues back at camp feel about the win, and are you allowed to display the trophy in a very prominent and public space?
Yeah, I've tried not to make too much of a big thing about it. I keep it here at home on the bookshelf. So it's something that I'm personally very proud of. I don't want to lie about it. It's something that I've worked very hard at for a big part of my life, and something that it's an industry that I am so passionate about and that I love so much. So having that accolade is something that I really am proud of. But equally, I don't want to rub people's faces in it, but I'd like to use the opportunity to inspire the other guides here at Ongava, inspire other guides in Namibia to show them how far they can take this profession. And yeah, I hope that young guides in South Africa are also watching and realizing that they where they can get to in the next 5-10 years, and where this journey can lead to.
Really good. Cameron, once again, congratulations on the win. Well deserved. Great to meet you. I look forward to meeting you again when you, like TJ, have to give the trophy back. And if you thought Safari Guide of the Year 2022 was tough, wait until you get to 2023 and somebody says, could I just have the trophy back? And you go, no, out of my cold, dead hands, you can have it.
Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to it, David, and it was great to meet you and everybody else that was involved in the competition. And yeah, I wouldn't miss next year's competition for love or money. So we'll definitely see you back there. And yeah, hopefully we can add 1 or 2 events and make it even tougher for the next bunch of contestants.
Great stuff. Cameron Pearce chatting to me about his win at Safari Guide of the Year 2022.